Hi, everybody. It's PodQuest.
Hey.
It is a Wednesday in February, the 12th of February, actually, 2025.
Yes.
I am Chris. With me is Druten
Hello.
and Walnut.
Go Birds.
Go
Oh,
Birds.
yeah, they won.
They
Look
did.
at that.
Go
They
Birds.
did the thing.
That was it. That was an embarrassing game for the Chiefs. Like,
Sure was.
holy
God.
shit.
You know what it was? The refs' money, the check never cleared for the refs, and so they didn't actually play for the Chiefs.
Yeah, like, oh, man. Like, I just watched the game on my phone mostly, and, like, I felt bad for them. Like, they got slaughtered.
It felt weird it being the third quarter and the game being over for the Eagles winning. I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I start celebrating now? The last time it came down to literally the last play.
Yeah. Oh, because I'm very pessimistic when it comes to Philly sports. The game wasn't over till it was over. And I wasn't willing to say it's over until about 10 minutes left in the fourth. So like even in the third when it was like, yeah, it's probably over, I wasn't willing to say that. But by 10 minutes left in the fourth, I was like, okay, let's start looking at the news to see if Broad Street's already blowing up.
Yeah. I mean,
I wasn't seeing anything.
That is kind of realistic too. Like in the third quarter, there's still that chance that the Eagles just completely fucking crumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but once they got that touchdown to Devontae, the game was over when it was 34-0.
Was that in the third still?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, at that point, I was still thinking to myself, "Are we going to get a shutout in the fucking Super Bowl?"
Which we ended up. We almost did. We didn't, which is fine. But that would have been a first ever shutout.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like a lot of the memes that are coming out of it. Like, there's the one of the Chiefs kicker standing on the sidelines, and it just says he would have been more valuable staying home than he was at the Super Bowl this year. Or when Serena Williams showed up at the halftime show, it's like she walked more yards than the Chiefs got in the entire first half.
Yeah.
Like,
it was,
man.
What a wild game. I'll be in Philly on Friday. I don't think I'm going to Center City. I got to talk to the family still to see what everyone's doing. I think we're going to go to South Philly at the start of parade.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You're not going to go to the museum?
No.
No, yeah.
That
like,
is a
Sarah and I are
shit
trying to
show.
be out of there by 1:00.
And even if you get that, so like the parade starts at what, 10, 11?
11.
Something like, yeah, 11. So even if you get there and you're right, like on South Street, or not on South Street, on Broad, and let's just say you parked right next to where you're at for the parade, which you're not going to be able to. It's still probably going to take you 2 hours to get out of the city, and you're right next to the bridge. Like it gets crazy.
Oh yeah, I was there for the Phillies in 2008.
Yeah, well, we did it for the Eagles a couple years ago, and I remember it was me, my dad, and my dad's friend, and we parked in IKEA, then walked to my parents' friend's house, which is in South Philly, not too far from Broad Street, and then we walked up the street to where that park is on Broad in South Philly, and we hung out there, and then the parade came by, and as soon as the parade was done, we like walked back. I think my dad's buddy was like, "You can't go to Philly and not get a drink," so we had to stop at a bar and get a drink at 11 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And then head home, and like, yeah, I don't think we got home till 1, 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
IKEA to there, it was crazy. We were in the car for at least a good 45 minutes.
I mean, I remember going over on the speed line for the Phillies, and like people literally trying to hold on to the outside of the train.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like shortly after I got into Philly, like apparently the train shut down. Like they just stopped running because of that stuff happening.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna call my dad after work tomorrow and see what his plan is or whatever and figure it out, because I'm gonna go, and I don't mind doing what we did last year. I don't know if your friends still live in South Philly, which is the thing. Like, I don't know if that's their plan or not. But I honestly, it was a nice spot. I'd probably still do that, even if they don't live there.
Yeah. I mean, I am not going to go over, but I'm glad they won, but I don't actually care.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason, like, I watched the game on the phone. Like, I didn't care that much. It's just nice to see Philly win.
Yeah.
And they did. And you know what? I mean, like their defense played like an all-time game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did not fucking let anything through.
No.
And half the time, if they did let something through, they then there was then like just a fucking turnover the next play.
Yeah.
Man, well, at least you sports fans got 2 Super Bowls out of them. May never get another.
Hey,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
more than a lot of teams have.
I mean, you're not wrong. And hey, like it seems like they have a pattern of they have to play the same team twice in the Super Bowl. They have to lose once, and then they can come back and win.
We just need the Raiders to get real good all of a sudden. Eagles Raiders Super Bowl next year. Avenge 1980.
Oh, were the Eagles in the Super Bowl in 1980?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Was it the Super Bowl in 1980? Yeah, it would have been the Super Bowl still.
It's been like that
It was
since
Super
the
Bowl
60s.
12.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It was Super Bowl 50 or 49 or something like that.
I wasn't paying attention to what number it was. My buddy made a really good point. They need to stop they need to stop counting what Super Bowl it is and just say Super Bowl 2025 or 2024 or whatever. Because
there's less prestige in that though.
But if I go up to you, Drew, right now, if I were to go up to you and say, without looking on your phone, who won Super Bowl number 40? You'd probably not know. But if I told you who won Super Bowl from 2015, you'd probably know.
Those are two totally different games, though.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, I don't remember.
I get what you mean, but you know, I think they should keep the numbering.
I mean, the Roman numerals just adds like a little prestige to it, in my opinion. Like,
it's fucking American football. What kind of prestige is there?
I mean, exactly. There's not much. It needs what it can get.
You have grunts, you have brutes just battling each other out the whole time. You don't need prestige. Americans are going to watch it no matter what.
I don't know. Maybe not anymore.
Why not? Because the halftime show got woke.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, it was so woke.
A minor. I will say that was very funny.
He said that line.
That he said that line, and that 70,000 people all screamed along with it.
Yeah.
And he was wearing the lowercase A necklace.
Yeah. But what a game. What a game.
Speaking of games.
Yeah.
What's on the agenda?
So on the agenda, Critical Role premiered their finale for Campaign 3. There was a recent as in 25 minutes ago, or like 40 minutes ago ending, State of Play from PlayStation, which I was I thought was pretty sick. And I decided to finish my Enshrouded Let's Play, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But first, before we get into any of that, I had a board game night with my friends this weekend, guys. And there's a game. I'm not going to mention the developer or anything because it was a review copy we got. I'm not going to mention the name of the game. I'll talk about like the game itself off air because I can't review it yet because I have yet to be able to play it because the rulebook is fucking terrible. And it like promotes this app called Diced, which is an app that's supposed to teach you how to play a game by bringing you through a tutorial of your first game or of like a couple of rounds. And it sucks because what it teaches you to set it up. It's like, here's how you set it up. Great. All right. Here's all these things. We'll talk about that in a later point. Here's this. We'll talk about that in a later point. Now, player 1, make your first move. You can do one of these 3 things. Well, what do these 3 things do? You haven't told me what anything does, so how can I make a choice of what to do if you haven't explained it to me? And if you click it, it doesn't really explain to you what the thing does. And so you're kind of just playing blind because the tutorial app doesn't. It's not a tutorial. It is a walkthrough, and it's a guide to play your first game. And it's just like
that's really annoying.
It was bad, and like the app is labeled on the box. It's used by a bunch of games. And I don't know if this game specifically just does it poorly, or if a bunch of games do it the same exact way. But every time it would be like, there's these tokens, which we'll talk about later, and those tokens, which we'll talk about later. But then when it goes to like walk you through your game and to help you, it's just like, all right, well, how do I make my decision if I don't know what I'm doing? Like, I know this game is a game based on a point system, but how do I move forward? How do I make a decision? How do I choose what to do of these options I can do? And like I'm going through the book trying to be like, all right, well, what are each of these things and what do they do? And it just tells you, oh, this is this. This icon is this. All right, well, what does it do? It doesn't tell you what it does.
That
And like
sounds like fun.
I'm like, I felt bad because this was a game that I was really interested in playing. It was a game that a couple of friends were interested in playing, but like, because it looks cool, but like,
I think I might know what game this is.
the record game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it like we sat there for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour just going through this tutorial, setting everything up and then going through it and it's like make your choice. Well, what do my choices mean? And it wouldn't tell. Like it didn't really give us any information. And so like I apologize like guys, I'm going to actually have to learn how to play this before we play this. Hopefully next time we can do it.
So there's no actual instructions in the box. It's just like a QR code to use this, or
there's an instruction booklet, but they did it. They did so much work to make it look like a magazine based on the theme of the game that like it's not really, to me it wasn't good. It tells you what everything is, but it like I was having trouble finding what everything does. And so I couldn't explain to them, like, oh, well, if you do this, this is what it does. If you do that, that's what it does. So, like, this is how you decide what you want to do. And, like, I'm going through, looking through the book, and the book is maybe, like, 5 pages. It's not a, like, a heavily, like, it's not, like, a majorly, like a crazy game. It doesn't have a ton of rules to it. It makes a lot of sense to me on the basic gist of potentially how to play. But I don't know what everything does, so I don't really know how to play. I just understand the idea of what we need to do and how to play, kind of thing.
right. And
so, like, yeah.
So I just want to like make sure I'm following too. Is that the app is not their app? It's like it's like a third party that's like doing this for games.
It's a third party that does this for games. So, like, they have a tutorial for Finspan, which is the new bird or fish wingspan game. They have tutorials for Joking Hazard, or they have stuff for Joking Hazard. It's just like a bunch of stuff for board games in general that they have on this app. Let's see, they have tutorials for Seven Wonders. They have tutorial for Bang, which is a Western game I played before. Carcassonne, like they have tutorials for a bunch of different games, not just specifically this one. Even Everdell, but it's not like here's how to play. It's we're gonna walk you through your first couple of rounds of gameplay. But the way at least this game was doing it, just wasn't really working for me.
So it almost sounds like you'd be better off like with some of those like YouTubers that do
YouTube watching a YouTuber
how to play
and actually having to sit down and read the booklet. Read the book. Like, I don't know any other way to learn how to play. But that's just, it was unfortunate. But like, again, the book is just, here's all the parts. Here's a turn order. At certain times you can do this. Well, what are those certain times? Well, here's some of the certain times. Literally, one of the things you can do in the game is get a bonus action. And in order to get a bonus action, you have to do one of the 3 things. There's 4 things you can do to do a bonus action. It lists 3, and the 4th one is, or 2 or more of these. That's a duh. Like, why would that be a thing you need to do to get a bonus action?
Yeah,
It's not saying if you do 2 or more that you get a bonus action for each thing you do. No, it's just, you can do one of these, or you can do them all, and you get a singular bonus action. No, you do that, you get a bonus action. That's like that. Like what? That makes no sense. All right, well, what can I do with my bonus actions? Well, you can do these things. Well, what are those things? And I'm flipping through the page. I don't know what to do with these. I don't know how to do these. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't. I'm really bad at reading instructions for board games. I always have somebody else do it. And I thought this app was supposed to be a really good tutorial because that's what they told me at the show. Was this was supposed to have a really good tutorial? We'll see what happens. I'm gonna have to try to learn to play it before our next game night with them. But I was disappointed because the game looks cool and fun. And honestly, Cobb, if it's a game you're interested in playing, maybe we can play it next time we have a game night. But
yeah, like depending on like how it ends up like looking, like if it looks like it's actually worth playing, like I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, but it's just like I need to figure out a better way. And I'm just like, I was so annoyed at that. Like, everyone was looking forward to playing that game. And it's like, yeah, we don't know how to play this game because the only thing we have to teach us isn't teaching us in a good way.
Yeah, that does actually just sound kind of frustrating.
And it was also our resident rule reader was in the middle of working on my PS5 controller to fix it, so he was like busy too. So like we couldn't have him help play through it. Plus, it's only a 4-player game. And there were 5 of us, so one of us had to sit out when trying it, which was him while he was working on my PlayStation controller. Which that's another funny story. He takes it apart. He checks it because my left D-pad button stopped working. He checks it. He didn't see anything wrong. He cleans it all off. He starts putting it back together, and at one point he starts cracking up laughing. And he's like, "Rich, do you see why I'm laughing?" I'm like, "No." And I look over and I take a second. The controller is pretty much fully back together, with the exception of like the black outline piece on the front. And I look down at the table. He forgot to plug the battery back in.
Oh, that's
so then he has to pry the controller back apart, get the battery back in and everything. He then tests it. The left D-pad button is working. Great, awesome. I come home. I start to play Ghost of Tsushima on Monday, and my touchpad's not working. So he must have forgotten to plug in the touchpad or something. Which, for anyone who hasn't played Ghost of Tsushima, you kind of need the touchpad. Because if you swipe it, the wind will blow in the direction that you're marked to go to. And if you tap it, it enters into like your heightened awareness mode. And so the past 2 days, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima hard mode because I didn't have heightened awareness.
Ouch.
Which, it actually made me play faster. So
fair.
That's better. But yeah, that's it. He's coming over hopefully tomorrow to check it while I'm working. So we'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
About that.
You're going to keep going, and you're going to talk about Critical Role now.
It's apparently a podcast of me. Critical Role aired their finale, their 8.5 hour long finale with an hour pre-show before it last Thursday.
And Campaign 3 finale, just for anyone that
Campaign 3 finale. Know. But it is the finale of like I think he labeled it as it's the end of the era of Discovery or something. I can't remember. He used like a different word for that. But basically, Critical Role, like it is technically it's a post-apocalyptic story in the world that he has created because the calamity happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, whatever. And it is still like the era post-calamity is just them rediscovering what they can do and what they can make and things like that. And this was the end of that.
This whole story is technically like that.
The whole Critical Role story, it takes place during them rediscovering and like coming into a new era post the destruction of pretty much post the end of a godly war, which was called the Calamity.
And that would be all 3 campaigns, right? Since they're all in the same world.
It would be all 3 campaigns. The only time it wasn't part of that was in EXU Downfall and EXU Calamity, which are their 2 shows ran by Brennan Lee Mulligan. Those 2 were pre-Calamity, like either like the start of the Calamity or like during the Calamity. They weren't after. And then the new show that they're premiering this Thursday for the next 4 weeks with Brennan Lee Mulligan is post-Calamity. Like once that all ended. Immediately once that all ended. Where people are like coming out, like the world is basically on fire still and they're trying to figure things out.
So are they taking a month before Campaign 4 or is it going to be longer?
They're taking much longer. They're taking much longer before Campaign 4. They're taking a month where Brennan Lee Mulligan is running an EXU show, but I don't know how long until they haven't announced the Campaign 4 yet. They haven't told us. They haven't given us any information on Campaign 4. We don't know if it's going to be D&D or if it's going to be Daggerheart or what. So that's all still up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen with that?
Because like the EXU thing is just slotted into like the normal time slot, right?
Yes, it is, and they're not doing their campaign wrap-up until they air this EXU thing because they want to include that in the campaign wrap-up because they want it to be a part of like this whole era of Critical Role and the world of Exandria itself.
Okay.
So it's like it is part of it, but it's not. It's canon and it's part of it, but it's not like the main story stuff. But it was long, obviously, 8.5 hours. It was good though. It was really good. It was a shock because you don't see this often, or at least in my experience, when you're watching or listening to like an actual play, a D&D thing, you don't often see the finale of something be all roleplay, and that's what they had for 8 hours was roleplay.
Wow, there was no combat or anything?
They had finished the combat the episode before. They
Oh.
dealt with the combat the episode before, and I'm sure there was a chance for there to be combat, but like this just proved like D&D isn't always about combat. D&D like they go a couple episodes at a time sometimes without combat. Like there's always a big bad boss that you end up having to fight in some instance, but you don't have to end a campaign after you beat that boss. And what happened is with this, they defeated the God Eater. One of the characters absorbed the God Eater, and this was at the end of the last episode before the finale. And they went back to Exandria and to talk to all of the gods and convince the gods, like, look, we can't stop this. And if we leave it where it is, sealed away, somebody down the line is going to try to release it again. And so the cycle will continue unless you work with us and you complete this rite that one of the gods have developed to essentially become mortal. But like they're not mortal in a sense of they're when they die they're dead. They become mortal in the sense of they will reincarnate as babies, and then every time they die they just come back to life, and their life cycle continues that way. And how they decide to be mortal gods on the planet is who knows what's going to happen. I don't know how I feel about this idea because like you have some of the evil gods now on Exandria. So like they're going to, once they realize that they are a god, and most likely they'll have a little bit more extra power, especially depending on if people still believe in them and have faith in them, like they're going to like wreak havoc. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens story-wise. I just hope and I cross my fingers and I pray that Mercer doesn't allow anybody to play a god in future campaigns.
What if it's like a crippled god though?
It's still a god. Still
or
a god.
that doesn't know they're a god.
Well, again, like that's a possibility that they can do. Somebody who doesn't know they're a god, but eventually they will learn that they are a god and they will figure out they will have some form of godly powers. Like
that could be cool though, as like a like if you know how like at the beginning of this campaign, like Travis played a different character for like the first like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
That would be cool if like somebody knew they needed like a break at some point, and so like they play like this character for like, you know, a quarter of the campaign or something. That like right before they're about to go away, they find out that they're a god and they die and transcend or whatever. And then when the person comes back, they just start with a new character.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. Like, who knows? Who knows what they could do? I don't like the idea of having players play as gods because eventually they just get incredibly powerful. Just the same as, like, I wouldn't really want my players to play as a legitimate dragon. Because, like, an adult dragon even is incredibly powerful. And you can holds nothing to, like, a normal enemy holds nothing to them. And so, like, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, even if they don't know they're a god, that's one thing. But when they do find out they're a god and start to retain their powers due to being worshipped, that's where it's like, okay, there's no point for them to really worry because they're going to have all this power in the world. And like, yes, if they die, that avatar form of them is dead. But they then just are reincarnated into a new person, which would be a baby. In 15 years from then, they wouldn't like be able to do anything for 5 years until they can actually walk around and stuff. But I don't know. I just don't like the idea of players playing as gods in general. But it's who knows? Who knows what Mercer's going to do? Again, we don't even know what the new campaign is. But the first, what was it, 2.5 hours? Was them dealing with the conversation with the gods and convincing them to do this ritual. And then once they were able to actually convince every single one of the gods to give up their immortality to become mortal. And then once the god's rite was done, which happened as soon as everyone was convinced. As soon as that rite was done, they released the God Eater, and so now the God Eater does not see mortality, cannot see or feel mortality at all. It only sees and feels gods and divine beings. So because it doesn't recognize anybody on Exandria as being like divine, it leaves Exandria. And now it's basically, and they said it the best. It's like, did we just release this thing to leave it to be somebody else's problem? And it's like, yeah, pretty much. But there's nothing we can do about it. The gods can't defeat it and we can't defeat it. So there's nothing we can do. And again, like I like the idea of if we seal it away again, somebody else is just gonna come 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 years, something like that, and release it again. So we need to just let it free. We need to let it be, and maybe at some point it'll die of starvation. Who knows? Or it'll find new gods. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be like campaign 6 will take place in a different world, and that enemy will pop back up and be a problem for them.
No, Exandria. They've already said it's still going to be Exandria.
No, I said campaign 6 or 7.
Campaign 6 or 7. I mean, it's true. Or they could do like Exandria, or not an EXU, but like a Critical Role universe thing, and like similar to EXU, and have it like a different world or have it a different area of the universe. I'm sure. Yeah, you're right, but it was interesting because that was 2.5 hours in is when they finished dealing with the big bad basically, and they finished with the whole like gods coming to an end storyline. And then they cut for a break because it was a normal time for them to cut for a break. During break, they had a little video. During the break, their power cut. And then a state of emergency was announced because the day they were filming the finale, the first day they were filming the finale, was the day of the storm and the fires. And so they had to leave.
Right.
Yeah. So they had to leave. And then they had to come back a couple weeks later. So like they even say like during the thing, like or when they come back, it's like you just watched a video of all the fires and stuff. Yeah, we look different because it's like 2 weeks later. Like they're all in different clothes. They're not wearing the same shit they were wearing that day. It's like we it's literally a different day for us in filming. We didn't want to rush anything. We didn't want to release a half an episode or whatever. So we came back and they had a bunch of guests. So they brought back pretty much everyone who played a guest role in this season or in anything connected to EXU. They brought back as best they could.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It was just about 6 hours of them like literally finalizing the politics of what happened in the campaign. Finalizing the relocation of the people from the moon who are now coming back or coming down to Exandria to live because the moon is a terrible place to live. Dealing with anybody who isn't remorseful for attacking Exandria. Searching out anybody who might have worked with one of the big bads.
Wait, hang on. I need to roll back for a second. But people lived on the moon?
Yeah, so they have Exandria has 2 moons.
Were any of them wizards?
No. They didn't. They didn't. But the main story leading up to them having to deal with the God Eater was a wizard who wanted to get onto the moon. And the wizard got onto the moon. But no one on the moon was a wizard.
Well, that's disappointing.
I don't know what you're trying to reference.
Destiny. You don't remember that?
Oh, the wizard. Oh, the one of the enemies is one of the guys. And
yeah, and like the big, because it was when the dude that played Tyrion, whose name I can't remember right now, when he was the voice, he's just like, wizards come from the moon. That didn't really make a big impact on me. That it was very prominent on the internet because it was in the beta, and people are just like, it was like a poorly delivered line, is why it stuck out.
But yeah, so it was Exandria has 2 moons. One of the moons, it's Catha and Ruidus. Katha they've never explored or looked at or talked about. It's just that is the main moon of Exandria. It's the moon that causes werewolves to change and stuff like that. And then Ruidus was a red moon that was basically created by the gods to encapsulate and imprison the God Eater within it. And it was taken from parts of Exandria that had blown off during the calamity or pre-calamity even. Like that happened like thousands of years before like even one of the EXU calamity. Like it was a long time that the gods had done that. And so that was like that basically became Predathos, the God Eater. And there were people that were taken off of parts of Exandria when they were filming the moon or forming the moon that just ended up living there more because like their home was brought up there. And so those people evolved into what we now know as I can't remember what they're called, but they're like psychic entities that can speak with their minds and stuff like that. I don't think they have natural arcane abilities. It's all psionics. And so they're like relocating them, and like the last 6.5 hours was wrapping up just the politics of all that and how they're gonna do it, and just letting everybody have their like goodbyes with each of their characters and doing their wrap ups and letting us know what they plan on doing in the future, both near and far. And it was nice. It was sweet. I was so happy to see like some of the characters relationships that were made and some of the connections that happened, and they wrap up having Mercer with the last thing that's being said is the Vaxel Don who was in the first campaign. He became the champion of the Matron of Ravens, but had to leave Exandria once that happened and live with the matron in her realm, except for when he was needed. He finally got to come home and be with Keyleth, his love. And so they ended the whole campaign, or the whole like 3 campaign, 10-year stretch with these two characters that were like lovers that were taken apart from each other, finally being able to be back together. And it was adorable and cute and so happy and sad. And it was a lot different than Campaign 2's finale, because Campaign 2's finale, like as Matt was wrapping up, and I remember talking about this like 3 or 4 years ago, like he was bawling in tears. Like he was like basically hardcore crying. It was like 2020 post-pandemic or 2021-ish post-pandemic, like we all were very emotional at the time, so it makes sense. But like, it sounded like people were stopping and leaving and ending. And this one was a lot different. Like, he still cried, and everyone still cried and was happy, sad. But it was like it had a different feel because it brings in a new era of both Critical Role and Exandria that like brings in more hope and possibilities of like maybe I'm thinking they might go this route of doing less long format campaigns. And they might be taking a little bit of a hint from Dimension 20 and doing like more short form stuff. Or if they're if they're going to continue with the long form campaigns, maybe they're not going to do it weekly, and maybe they'll do it every other week or something. But they have 5, 6 live shows planned this year. One of them being the first ever Daggerheart game being played on Exandria. So we'll see how that goes into play. I'm thinking that might be the first episode of Campaign 4.
Well, because didn't you also say
that live show?
Isn't there also like a live show coming up that's like the marriage of two characters?
Yeah. Those characters lived, so it's fine. That was the whole big deal, and they even talked about it on this show at one point. It was like, what if we die? What are we doing with that live show? And they're like, we'll find out. It'll be a live show about bringing these characters back to life or something like that. Because they do have resurrection magics and spells, but like he makes it harder. Like Revivify generally works, but everything outside of Revivify, he makes it harder, which I like. I like making resurrecting a little bit harder than just, oh, you need 1,000 gold to do this. Because like you would just bring everyone back if you had that ability to. But yeah, so that's September, October of this year. That's in New York. that show, but they have a bunch of shows. I don't even remember. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick. 10-year anniversary. Let's see. So Chicago in April, and this is, if they said what it was, the unique one shot where the audience will decide which of the original main characters the founding members of Critical Role will play. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. So Chicago's show in April 10th, is the audience is going to pick everyone's character, and then there's going to be some sort of one shot with that. They're going to Australia for Sydney and Melbourne. Party members from two separate campaigns will join forces to fight a common threat. So that's I think I remember them saying that it's going to be Bell's Hells and the Mighty Nine crossover episodes for those two. And then Indianapolis is going to be the first ever what's it called? Daggerheart game set in Exandria. That's on August 2nd. So I think that's Gen Con. Yeah, that's Gen Con.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? Because Gen Con's in Indianapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gen Con's August 3rd this year. So that is the weekend of Gen Con.
Yeah, July 31st to August 3rd.
Yeah. And then the last one is the New York City Radio City Music Hall show, where it is the marriage of Jester and Ford. That is in October. So they have all those shows. So they haven't done any announcements for the next campaign. They always take like a couple of months off and do like one shots and things like that over the course of these few months, or like even just take time off in general. But it's we'll see what happens. I'm thinking by April we'll have an announcement of when the next campaign will start and what system they'll be using. But I'm thinking they're going to Daggerheart. I'm really thinking they're going to Daggerheart. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go to Daggerheart if they
especially
spent all the
they made it.
Yeah, they spent all the time developing that like it really wouldn't make sense not to use it, especially with all of the BS that it takes to be able to actually use a Wizards property anymore, because they suck. That's why a lot of actual plays aren't using D&D anymore. Because Wizards doesn't using the rights using D&D in actual plays is apparently very hard and very annoying. Like, I think they even stopped mentioning D&D Beyond as much as possible on the show.
Oh wow! Does that seem to be what they still use though?
They use D&D Beyond, but like they don't really mention it. Like they were having issues with it not loading, and they couldn't mention. Oh yeah, they couldn't say like, yeah, D&D Beyond isn't loading right now, or the page isn't loading. Like they were having Wi-Fi issues and whatnot, and like they couldn't even mention that. Like they were just like, yeah, my page isn't loading, and like they would like snicker about how annoying D&D Beyond was being and stuff like that. They wouldn't. But I don't know. I don't think they really mention that anymore.
I mean,
But who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, 8.5 hours, all role play. 6.5 of it was just basically campaign wrap up. And then the funniest part to me, I posted about this on my Discord, was their feed ended 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, ish Eastern time. And their Twitch feed ended, but their YouTube feed, I logged on at like 8 o'clock in the morning and it was still running. So whoever like turned everything off somehow forgot to turn off YouTube. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what they were using, why they have to click two buttons to shut off YouTube, one for YouTube, one for Twitch. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know how long it was still live for. I don't think they ever like made a comment on it or anything like that. But yeah, it was funny. Yeah, that's it. That's all. I thought it was a really good finale. It was interesting to see a finale that didn't involve combat. And it was. I'm excited to see what they do moving forward. I think they might be trying to go back to doing live shows again, like live air. Like,
oh right, because they've been doing like pre-taped ones since COVID, right?
Yeah, they've been doing pre-recorded. The only time they've done a live show was what was it? They did the Wildfire Relief Fund show 2 weeks ago, and it was all filmed live. They had technical issues, which had never happened before. It looked like Matt was jerking off at one point. was hilarious.
Oh no.
Yeah, so the screen's the screen like looped. It went all turned green and it looped. And Matt's hands were at the bottom of the screen just jerking up and down the whole time. So they like there you could still hear audio. It was just video. So like they come in, their producers come and like, guys, stop right here. We got to reset everything. The entire thing went down. And so it goes dark for a second, and then the audio cuts out. Then the video comes back, and everyone's talking, but there's no audio, and you just see everyone shaking their hands back and forth, like they're like either up and down by their waist, or back and forth like they're double teaming. And they finally get the audio back on. It's like, and Matt's just like, yeah, apparently that's what Twitch wants me to be doing right now, and so they're just all just jerking it live. It was hilarious. But yeah, that was a good one. They had people like donate and buy like boons and whatnot and things to happen to the players in this like crazy one shot where like they would be swapping each other's character sheets and stuff. It was nuts. But it was a lot of fun. I think they raised what, $360,000 for wildfire relief. Yeah. They raised a lot of money for that. But yeah, that's it. Critical Role, 8.5-hour finale. If you have not watched it yet, watch at your own pace. You don't have to sit there and fit it all in. I know. I'm just saying anybody else. I already spoiled it all anyway, but it doesn't matter. It's still a good thing to watch. But watch at your own pace. Don't worry about like getting it all done in one go. It took me 2 goes. I watched to the break, and then I stopped, and then the next day at work, I watched the last 6.5 hours. But yeah, it was good.
At least you enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what comes from them. I'm excited to see this new series, too. It's supposed to be like dark and gritty. And we'll see what happens. Plus, I just love Brendan Lee Mulligan as a DM. He's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have gone to Madison Square Garden.
What was Madison Square Garden?
They did a Dimension 20 thing up there.
Dimension 20 sold out Madison Square Garden.
Good for them.
Madison Square Garden sold out for people playing D&D. Wild.
That is, fucking good for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, should we talk about this state of play?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
There was a state of play today. I forgot about it until, when did I message you guys? At like 4:10?
Yeah.
Anything jump out to either, did either of you get to watch it?
Yes.
I put it on.
Right. Anything jump out to either of you?
We're getting a remaster
Monster Hunter, because we know that's
Mm-hmm.
coming for you, Rich, in like 2 weeks.
Look, they had some new stuff they hadn't seen yet, and I've watched everything. So it was their release trailer. It was their final trailer. And there were things on there that I'm just like, oh, I'm so excited to know about that. Besides the fact that like they're already announcing the first drop of free content, which is like, you could have just waited like 2 weeks after the game released. It's not going to push me to buy that game. I can't buy it sooner. Like, there's no point in telling me that Mitsune is going to be on the roster in spring. There's no point of that. You couldn't have just waited till like a week or two after to tell me that. But that trailer, I'm excited for that. I can't wait for that game. That game is the only thing keeping me going. We're getting a remaster of a 6-year-old game.
Wait, what was this 6-year-old game? I know
Days Gone came out in 2019.
Oh, that's right. There was a remaster for that. My head immediately went to Metal Gear.
No, I mean, we're getting Metal Gear Remaster, which I thought we already had a Snake Eater Remaster. Or at least we knew about it.
It got announced a long time ago.
It's been, okay. I think the release date was new, though.
Yeah. I think it's fucking 2019. Which I guess a Windows port was released in 2021. Okay, yeah. That's the wiki updating it. We're getting the remaster in April for Days Gone. I'm just like, whatever. Me wanting to defend the fact that, like, there are original titles and then getting annoyed when there's no original titles. But I liked a lot of what I saw on there.
There were some cool games, I thought, like stuff that I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah, so Lost Soul Aside is a game that I've kind of been like sort of following. It's something I followed on Facebook years ago, and it's being developed by like a small developer.
It was just a one-person team when it originally started.
Yeah. And that looks wild. It looks wild. I'm excited for that game. That's totally down my alley of games. And then Shinobi Art of Vengeance looks really cool.
That did look real cool.
Digimon Story, that's Stranger. I want to play through the Digimon games. The Digimon
Actually, yeah, like
Story games.
that Digimon one, Digimon one and the Lost Soul one, like both of them, I'm just like, huh.
Yeah. Cobb, Like a Dragon is getting stuff in Dave the Diver. You're gonna play that now?
Honestly, I've wanted to try Dave the Diver.
I don't think it's your kind of game. I don't think you would really be too interested in it. I've seen people play it, but like I'm not. This is not me saying don't play it. I wouldn't get. I don't think it's necessarily something that you'd like super be into. It's just
Erica actually owns it already, so
yeah.
I wouldn't have to actually pay for it again.
Well, then there you go. I want to get it for the Godzilla content, which you can like collect different like Godzilla character busts, like little figures of it. And there's a bunch of Godzillas you can collect. Borderlands 4, whatever. Drew, you're gonna get WWE 2K25?
Probably not. I'll wait for them to make that one free.
It's like open world WWE or some shit like that, man. Or it's like MMO or something.
The NBA 2K has the city. That's what that looked like. It's just like, okay, you make your player and it's like the career mode, but also you can do these side things for a lot of real money. You won't be able to actually do much unless you fucking pay ridiculous amounts of shit for it.
I thought Directive 8020 looked like it could be cool. It's another Supermassive Dark Pictures game. I like it.
That looked really cool. I haven't played any of the other games. But yeah, I do think that looked really interesting. That's definitely in my like wheelhouse of like the survival horror-y kind of crazy body horror shit that I do love to play and get into. Five Nights at Freddy's, I've never played any of those games, but that game, I've always been interested in all of them. This one looks similar to some of the other mascot horror games I've played recently, so definitely into that. Midnight Walk we've heard about before, but which I'm interested in again.
Yeah, and then there was Tides of Annihilation.
Tides of Annihilation. I don't remember that one.
It was like an action game.
It was the game with the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I was still working while watching, so I couldn't like really focus in. I feel like we didn't get a lot of gameplay for that.
There was like a little bit in there, but like not a ton. But it similar to that the Lost Soul game. It looks like it's more of like a character action game. Yeah. So like it's got that like fast paced jump around stuff going on. It's not like a Souls combat, which makes me, or it doesn't look like a Souls combat sort of game, which makes me interested to see a little bit more of it. So I feel like a lot of games were leaning into that style of combat, like just the uber hard and exact combat. Mm-hmm. And I like the just like run around the level and hack away at things combat, like the Platinum style when Platinum games are good.
Yeah. We got DLC for Lies of P, which is a game that I definitely want to play. I'll get that eventually.
What did you think about the Saros, the like Returnal sequel or whatever that's supposed to be?
It's like a spiritual successor kind of thing. Like it's using like similar ideas or something like that. Like I'm interested. Again, it's something that like it's another thing that we got it. It's an announcement trailer. There's not gameplay for it or anything. It's just, hey, this is a thing from the same people who made Returnal. That it piqued my interest when they mentioned Returnal. But I want to see it. I like those games. I liked Returnal a lot. It's a game that I think about often, and I'm like, I should play that again. But I want to see more. It does give me some like Lovecraftian horror type vibes, which I love that kind of theming. That I'm like totally down for. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. And I did I was honestly surprised. Like just overall, like there was actually like some quality stuff at this State of Play. Yeah.
There was a decent amount. Like we even got something from Pixel Junk, which we haven't gotten in a while.
That's true.
The game doesn't look at all interesting to me in the least bit, but it was like correction. I would not play it, but it does look a little interesting. Like it's just like I would never. This is not my kind of game. I don't really. This is just going to be super narrative driven, kind of thing. It just I don't know if I'd play it really. Drew, Warriors Abyss.
That did actually look kind of dope.
That gave me some hardcore Hades feel to it.
Yeah, it definitely was like, what if we made Dynasty Warriors into Hades?
Yeah.
I'll be interested. It'll probably be too much money, but we'll see.
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that's like a $15 to $20 game.
Oh wait, I forgot. That game is out.
Is it out already?
Yeah, that's what they said. It could launch today.
Oh yeah, the first shadow drop of presentation was next, as Koei Tecmo announced. Warriors Abyss.
There was also a new Shinobi game.
Yeah, it's $25. Maybe I might give it a try.
See, that's the thing. We've known about the Onimusha. You said Shinobi, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, we already mentioned Shinobi.
Oh, we did. Right.
Yeah, that was like the second thing we mentioned.
I'm scrolling through, like, I couldn't find one good article, so I have like 3 different tabs with the games open.
I'm using the GameSpot one that I shared in the chat.
I didn't even see you shared that one.
I just shared it because I wasn't sure if y'all were looking at one. But yeah, the Shinobi does look good. It does. Onimusha 2 Remaster and Onimusha Way of the Sword. We've known about those for a bit. Metal Gear Solid Remaster. Hell is Us, I wasn't really sure what... It's a shooter, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wielding a lightsaber-esque weapon. Yeah, I don't... Again, because I was working, I wasn't able to, like, fully take in everything, so I don't... Like, Metal Eden, Mind's Eye, and that one I don't fully 100% remember, so... But it was, like you said, like, I agree. There's a lot of cool stuff here. A lot of cool stuff in it.
Yeah, like, Drew, did anything else, like, jump out at you?
No, like, the 2 things that jumped out the most at me were the Shinobi and the Onimusha roguelike, or the Warriors roguelike.
Yeah, and, like, Onimusha, like, that's a franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to get the Metal Gear remaster, most likely. Metal Gear 3 is fucking awesome.
I never played 3. I never played Snake Eater. Yeah.
Snake Eater real good.
I just like that's the one where you can during the boss fight with the old guy, you can just save your game, turn it off, change the date on the PlayStation, and when you turn it back on, he'll have died of old age.
Yeah. Or you can kill him a lot earlier in the game, and then that fight just becomes you versus a couple of snipers or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, because there's like a scene where like they're like he's like being wheeled across like a tarmac or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't played most of them, but I watched when they did Metal Gear Scanlan. I watched 1, 2, and 3, and a little bit of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I didn't watch 4. I watched some of 5. I forgot 4 existed.
I forgot 5 existed.
I mean, really, it's just the first 3 that matter, right?
4 is real good.
4 is really good. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
So, I've never never played it, never really seen anything for it. I actually tried playing it when it first came out, but it was a PS3 game, and at the time I did not have an HD TV, and a bunch of stuff on the screen would not render correctly. So like you couldn't see the health bar, for instance. Like it was just not there.
Problem.
So it was real hard to play that game not knowing what any of the HUD was like trying to tell you to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's good. I would recommend playing 4 at some point if you like the series. Like,
yeah. Now, Rich, I have a question for you.
What's up?
This is going to sound like I'm trashing Monster Hunter, but I do not mean it that way.
Wow, rude.
That's why I'm saying it up front, just because I legitimately don't mean it that way. Now, watching that trailer, I feel like what World was the last one, right?
Rise was the last one.
No, like the last big multi-platform one.
Rise was the last one.
Isn't Rise the RPG?
No, you're talking stories.
God, how many fucking Monster Hunter ones do they have?
They have the Monster Hunter. So it's Monster Hunter, and then they have the Monster Hunter from B Team, and then they have stories. So it's only technically 3, which Rise is technically from the B Team, but it was still a mainline game because because they have 2 teams because they put a lot of work into these games. It's not just like they don't just throw them together like fucking Call of Duty shit.
Rise was a Switch game that then got ported over to the big boy consoles.
Well, I mean, Rise was a Switch game, but but World was a PS5 game that then got ported over to the everything else.
Right, but that's why he's thinking World
it
was
was-
like the last main one.
No, but I mean, no.
'Cause World was the last one that came out on the like at the time current gen consoles.
False, because Rise came out on the current gen consoles.
But it did not launch on them.
World only launched on PS5.
Right, but well, PS4.
PS4, whatever, PlayStation.
But still, like
and the Switch is also a current gen console.
But it's
Fight
not.
me on that. It is.
It's not.
It is the most recent generation of Nintendo.
Sure,
It
but
is
it's
a
not a
current gen
PS5
console.
Xbox series.
It doesn't matter what series it is. It is the current gen of Nintendo. It may not be as powerful, but it's the current gen of Nintendo.
It's about to be the last gen in 5 months?
Okay.
Maybe.
But again, like, I mean, that's why he was thinking about World being the last like big release.
No, it was Rise and Sunbreak, because it was. I mean, again, and that was even 4 years ago.
But still, look, World is what I was thinking of. Because like honestly, it's because Rise was a Switch game. I think that's what I was thinking for it. But I feel like World actually looked really nice. Like graphically, it was a good looking game. Mm-hmm. The trailer that they showed today, I feel like Wilds looks like
they went grittier with it. They went grittier.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No, it is darker and grittier. More probably, maybe darker. Like gritty is really the better way to put it. It's like there's a lot of like it looks. It's hard to explain. It looks like there's dust everywhere.
Well, there's that, and I legitimately thought that like just like some of the character models and like the way that like the land and stuff was like behaving, like it just
land. I don't. To me, playing the beta, the land and everything looks perfect and beautiful. The set pieces and the scenery look amazing. Everything I've seen, those pre-rendered things that they're showing in that's everything. Most of the things we saw in those trailers is all pre-rendered. I agree, don't look that great, but like Monster Hunter, like the people never really necessarily look all that great. Like the games aren't really about the story.
Well, no, and like, but I mean, even like the like I thought even the monsters just like it's not that they look bad, they look outdated, and I feel like World looked like a newer game than Wilds. Like if I were to look at them too, like, and I'm going off of memory too, but I almost feel like if I looked at them side by side, I'd be like, oh, Wilds came out first.
So it is potentially the engine. I don't entirely remember or know which engine they're running this off of, but like portions and parts of the game do give me more Rise feel to them, which was a little bit more cartoony in looks, and they were using the RE engine for that. So I don't know if they're using their RE engine for this.
According to Wiki, they are, but I don't know whether or not to trust that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those like I feel like until the game is out, there's not like a definitive way to know.
So World was made using the MT framework, which was Capcom's thing at that time. Which was Capcom's engine at the time, and then they made the RE, the Resident Evil engine, for the remakes, and they started using that for Rise. And so this one's probably using the RE engine. So there's like probably some limitations. They also wanted to, I'm guessing, maybe have like the look be similar to both Rise and World, and not like have it be like that little bit more lively and realistic, but also still have that kind of have a little bit of cartooniness. But like I can see some of it. Like I agree at times. Like the game looks like it looks to me like there's just fuzz. It's just fuzzy at times, but it might just be my monitors. Like I don't have the best monitors and stuff like that. But when you get into the actual game, when you play the game, I don't notice it. I don't think it looks bad.
Okay.
But you're also someone who you don't think the monsters look cool. So you've never really paid attention to the monsters. You've said this in the past 100 times.
No,
you don't like
don't
what the
have
monsters
any,
look like.
I don't like anything about the games. Like I think it's all pretty like blah. But I just like I thought that like for like what it was worth, like I have my complaints about World, but I thought like the game, like the graphics looked pretty good in that game. And like this one, like just watching the little clips on there, I'm like, this just looks dated for some reason.
Yeah,
And
I think I think it might have, because a lot of the main focus of like the flagship monster and things like that take place in like a desert plains, and there's a lot of sandstorms and a lot of like one of the monsters, whenever you encounter them, it's always a lightning storm, and it's a raging lightning sandstorm going on, and so it is like darker, it's grittier, there's stuff all over the place. It's like watching a Godzilla movie. Like they can save money on CG because everything's darker kind of thing. Like, but outside of that, if you were to go watch any of my any of the times I've played the beta, like it looks really good. It looks beautiful. And anytime any like IGN stuff where they're playing it and the set pieces and things like that, like they have that little bit of a cartoony feel, but it still looks, the set pieces of the set design, the arenas are beautiful, in my opinion, at least.
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I was just curious because yeah, like it in that trailer, there's particularly one bit where like the monster like digs underground and like these very like blocky polygons of dirt like fly out. I'm like, that just doesn't look like modern in a game.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't fully watch the trailer because I know I don't need to watch it.
what a fake fan.
I watched everything else about it. I don't need to watch a trailer because also I don't need to know what's going on with the story because I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna experience it all. But like those moments, I get it because like those moments when you're watching it in a trailer, it's like that like looks a little dated. But in the game, when you're watching it, it's like it's done in a moment, and you're not even worrying about it. It's like it's having that moment of like, oh, this is what they're using to show off this game. That's kind of weak. But there's the game is like, yeah, it's not gonna. It looks better than the trailers make it look.
Well, that's good.
And it's yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, it doesn't have any impact on me. I was just more curious because I'm like, I remember World just looking nicer.
The world was beautiful, and the worlds in this were beautiful. Like it might. I don't know. Because I can't explain it.
Yeah, I was just curious. Anything else either you guys want to mention about the state of play?
No, not really. What was Darwin's Paradox? I don't even remember seeing that. It's a Konami game. Oh, the Octopus game. That looks silly.
I might have missed that one. I'll have to go back and rewatch it later.
New platform from Konami starring an octopus trying to escape a food processing plant.
Oh, you know what? I was like walking around, like taking care of a couple things when this one was on, so I only caught like a glimpse of it.
Yeah,
giving me real. I also didn't really see this. This gives me like Oddworld vibes.
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, Rich, would you like to talk about Enshrouded?
Yeah. So today, Wednesday the 12th, was my finale of possibly all of Enshrouded, if not just like season 1, and I'm taking a break from Enshrouded.
You'll be
because I don't know. I don't know if I will. It's an open world game. It's an open world crafting game. Those games, like, there's not often, or that's a lie. I'm finding a lot more now that like a lot of them are getting stories. But it is a game that is still in early access. They don't have all the content out. But it took me 3 to 4 weeks to fight a boss. And my intention with the series when I first started was, because it's still in early access, was to get through all the available content and then take a couple of weeks and take like 6 months off and then jump back into it when when more content came out. And this series kept going because as I was getting closer to ending it, and we talked about this back in October, I was close to ending this series. But then new content dropped. I was like, all right, well, I can jump into this new content. And I just was not thrilled with what they released for the new stuff. So what they added was a cold biome, an ice biome up on the top of a mountain.
Can you also remind me which one Enshrouded is?
Enshrouded is the one with the shroud. The world is engulfed in a fog. And when you go into the fog, you can only last for about 5 minutes. So you have to get out of the fog within 5 minutes. Survival crafting game that's all voxel based, so you can destroy every bit of the world that you want. You can You have gliders. Looks cartoony, but you're trying to rebuild the world after X number of centuries. I don't really know. That's the best way I can explain it. It came out last year, or the early access started last year. It's been a year now that the game has been out in like actually the beginning of February or late January. But they added over the course of the year, they added a couple of new regions, they added a bunch of new quests, and when I was about to finish it in October, they added a whole new expanded region of like this ice biome, which I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. But of course, when you have an open world game like this, a crafting game, you incorporate an ice region. You also are going to incorporate a temperature system, which some games do it fine. Some games are just like, all right, you put on warmer clothes, you're good. And other games don't. And this game, to me, I feel like it didn't. Because you could put on warmer clothes, and all that does is it increases the amount of time you can be in the cold before you get hypothermia and have to leave.
I kind of like that though, because that's realistic.
Look, I love realism in games. I'm all down for realism in games. But in a fantasy game like this, like, let me put on my clothes and not have to worry about that. Because here's the problem. You get to the cold area, and immediately the border of your screen gets covered in ice. And you lose, like, and maybe like 5% of your screen. Or, like, you don't lose it, but, like, it gets just covered in ice. And as the time goes on, more ice covers your screen. I hate that because I can't see. It takes away like enjoyment.
Well, when you're dying of being frozen to death, you start to lose your vision too.
So, and here's the other problem: most games, if they have this feature of a temperature setting, if you go indoors with fire, you warm up. I built a huge house on top of this mountain to have a place to go to. I put fires all over the place. My house is still frozen ice cold.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
You can't warm up in the ice areas. The only way to warm up is to leave the frozen area. There are things that, like, you can bring a pocket heater, which is basically just a hand warmer. It doesn't reset your timer. It just gives you 5 more minutes. That's it. Like, the ice system itself just wasn't good. Like, the temperature system itself wasn't good. Like, I just had to do a sequence in Ghost of Tsushima where I had to deal with temperature. And I was so mad about it because it did the same thing. The longer you were out in the cold, the more your screen started to cover up with ice. And then you can't fucking see anything. And I hate that. I hate that feature so much. Don't do that because it is more aggravating than it is exciting. And honestly, it takes me out of immersion because then I can't fucking see anything.
Yeah, like, I think, like, it, like, personally, if there's a way to, like, actively warm up, like going into shelter, building a fire,
yeah,
then, like, yeah, like, you have options to, like, get out of the cold, build your thing back up, and then go back out into it.
Exactly.
But if it's just like, no, like, you just have a time limit to be in this area regardless, like, unless it's like a game like shit, I can't think of any, but I feel like games do this where, like, it's like a toxic area. Like, yeah, you know what? Like, this is just toxic. Like, you can't spend time here.
And that's what Enshrouded does. You have the shrouded areas that are toxic that, like, you can only be in there for X amount of time. There are things that you can find in the shrouded areas that will reset your timer and stuff like that. And you can extend your amount of time. I think I'm at like 10 minutes right now. But, like, when it comes to the cold region, there's just nothing you can do. You're just kind of stuck. And it, like, to me, I'm just like, that's bullshit. It's frustrating. It's boring. It's not cool. Add to that one of the bosses, and I don't even know if this is a final boss of the content or not. But they incorporated a boss that was the absolute worst thing I ever had to fight. It's the boss that took me 3 to 4 weeks to beat. And you get to the top of this mountain, so you're now dealing with the time constraints of weather. You have to glide over to this ring platform that you fight the boss on. And the ring platform is surrounded by Deadly Shroud, which is red, which eats away at your shroud timer incredibly fast. It's surrounded all by it, so if you land in it, you basically lose. And this enemy is a giant dragon which the mechanic for the dragon is to stun it so it lands on the ground, and then whack it with your weapons. And if you have a strong enough weapon, let's say 4 phases. 4 phases, right? However, after you're done beating it with your weapon and it flies back into the air, it summons 5 aerial enemies that you also have to fight with. You guys have not played this game. Fighting an aerial enemy with a melee weapon is next to impossible.
We should have gotten a gun.
I am running a primarily melee build. I don't have any magic or anything, so it's a pain in the ass. I don't have high MP, so it really wouldn't do much, even if I did bring like a wand or something like that. I do have a bow and arrow, which I can use, but even if I'm locking in on this enemy and firing at this enemy, I'm also still being attacked by the dragon. That's breath attack can kill me in a single hit, even at the high level I am, fully powered up. Whose wing attack can throw me off the level, and shooting your bow and arrow uses stamina. So then if you try to activate your glider and it throws you off the ledge, you're not actually going to be able to glide that far, and you're going to hit the red shroud. Or there's snow on the ground, which is like, say, a half a foot thick or a foot thick. So you're moving slower through this snow cover, and you have to fight these winged monsters and then fight the boss dragon more. And every time you fight the boss dragon and you knock him down and he gets back up, there's more winged monsters coming. There are mechanics where you could parry attacks of his to make him get staggered, but it's you're parrying ranged attacks. And so if you don't actually position yourself properly, you throw that parry over him and it doesn't hit him. And if you die, you lose all your buffs, and it starts you right back outside of where he was, but he regains all of his health. So
that's annoying.
Yeah, and that's that was the biggest pain. Like, there were a few times that I did pretty good, but then he just got lucky and threw me off at one point. I ended up having to look online how to cheese this boss, and just sat there. It still took me 3 tries to find a good spot to be able to cheese him. And then I just sat there firing, 150 arrows at him, basically, because there are stun arrows that you can go hit him and stun him, and then once you knock him down, you fly down, you whack him, and then you get back into your spot when he gets back up. And it drained me. The game wasn't bringing me joy anymore. I wasn't looking forward to playing. And there's just like, I was just like, I don't like this region. I don't like the ice region. I don't like what they did with the temperature. I don't like what they did with this final boss. I need to stop. So after, like, my goal was to beat the boss and then stop, because originally it was to beat the boss and then stop, but their 1-year anniversary, they dropped more content. So I was like, fuck, I now have to try. The day that I filmed the day I went to film the last session of me playing, they had dropped new content, and I went to go film it, but my shaders were compiling, and I sat there for 10 minutes and they were still at 2%. So I didn't film it. I waited, I stopped playing. I waited 2 weeks. I went to go play, and I sat there for a half hour, and they were at 20% for compiling for shaders. And I was like, I just got to play with these shaders compiling. So I fought the boss my last time with the game not looking the best, because for some reason it lets you play while the shaders are still compiling. Most games don't let you do that on PC. The shaders compile first, and so it goes faster. Not with this one. So yeah, I had to. After I finished that, I was like, guys, I'm done with this game for now. I may come back, but this game isn't really suited well for single player, and I'm not having fun with it anymore. Some of these missions were just too much for me, and I just don't like it. It's not sparking joy. So
yeah, I mean, that's
I need to
especially when you're
else.
doing like the Let's Plays, because those are like things you're playing kind of like by yourself.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Like, I kept reaching out on Twitter and Blue Sky, like, hey, if anybody's playing Enshrouded and wants to help me fight this boss, please let me know. I need help fighting this boss. Like, I don't know anybody else playing it, and since I'm playing it on Let's Play and not live stream, like, it's harder to get people to come join me to play, even IRL people, because they don't know when I'm playing, and it's just, yeah, it was an incredible pain. So I also, there are other games I want to play before sequels come out. So I already started doing a Subnautica Below Zero playthrough because Subnautica 2 comes out this year, I believe, if not next year, like early next year. And then I wanted to do the story mode for The Long Dark because The Long Dark 2 comes out, I believe, this year. And so I was like, I want to get those done. And I started doing Subnautica last week, and I'm planning on with my schedule. I am doing another 7 Days to Die series survival series to see how long I can survive with a new challenge. And once that's done, I'll go into the what's it called into the Long Dark.
Nice.
And basically, my the way I go is between each series, I do a 7 Days to Die series. So this way it gives me time for the main series to have. So I don't want episode 5 and episode 4 of the two series to come out on the same week. I want like episode 15 and episode 2 to come out on the same week or something. Just this way it's split up. But yeah, so I Enshrouded. I enjoyed it for the most part. The building's great. Combat is all right. The world is very pretty and expansive, and I want to see more of it, but that final boss, that fucking dragon, and the problem is that is a young dragon. It wasn't even like an adult dragon. It was a young dragon. And so I can only imagine what happens if they incorporate an adult dragon into this game and what that fight is going to be like. And if they're gonna keep doing stuff like that with a battle arena like that, to me it was the worst fight to ever be in. And I've played Soulsborne games. Like it took me 3 weeks to defeat the last like 4 bosses I fought in Bloodborne each. And this one, after 3 weeks, I was like, I'm just done with this game.
Yeah, which as you should be if you're not having fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I said, I liked it. I liked the game. It's just that boss killed it for me.
Yeah, it's one thing if it's like a challenge thing and like you're not supposed to have fun with it, but like that's not what that was.
And that's the thing. Like FromSoft games and Soulsborne style games, like you losing is still fun because you're learning. It may be challenging.
I didn't mean that kind of challenge. I meant like if like somebody like donated or whatever, like redeemed points for you to have to like play a game that was like a known bad game, and like you didn't have to play it forever, but like you had to play it on a stream, and you wouldn't have fun with it. But like that's kind of like the fun part of it.
Oh, like Shenmue. Today's a year anniversary of me playing Shenmue.
Yeah, like something like Shenmue. Exactly.
No, this is a year anniversary of me saying I'm done with Shenmue, because I think today, a year ago, was when I had got to the point where you had to get a job, and it was going to take another like 3 to 5 hours before I could push forward to get to the end of the game, which I only had another like 20 minutes left for the end of the game, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do this. This is not fun. Like, I don't understand why you find it fun. It's the greatest game in the world. I don't get it. I don't understand Shenmue. I don't understand why people like it. Coming from a guy who wants to play Fast Food Simulator.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a legitimate game, by the way, Fast Food Simulator.
Oh, there's a simulator for everything.
It's relatively new, I think, and I've been watching some YouTubers play it, and I'm just like, this game looks chaotic. They're playing on hard mode, which I don't know if I'd want to play it on hard mode. I think it would be too frustrating to play it on hard mode, but like normal might be fun. But that is that one for sure. There's, like you said, there's a bunch of them. That one for sure, you need at least 2 people to play it, because you need one person to run the front of the store and one person to run the back of the store. Whereas like other games, like there's Grocery Store Simulator, where like, all right, you can be open and closed for a while and be the one person playing it the whole time. Or there's one of them is TCG Card Shop Simulator, which a lot of people were playing for a while. That like you can play that all by yourself, because you can just order stock and serve customers all at the same time and whatnot.
Nice. And there are some silly sim games out there, gotta say.
Yeah,
but it's probably a show, right?
It sounds like a show.
Yeah.
Right. Sounds like the dogs are getting antsy downstairs. So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of those things help. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/OneQuestOnline, at @1_Quest on Instagram and Twitter, @1somethingQuest on Blue Sky, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/OneQuestVideo. And then you can also send us emails to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what does your streaming look like?
Twitch.tv/B_Walnuts for video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Right now, I should be hopefully beating Ghost of Tsushima on the 16th of February. That is my goal. If not, it will be beat on like the 17th or 18th. It'll be within the next couple of days. And then it's just killing time until Monster Hunter World comes out. So I'll be playing. There's this game called A Game About Digging a Hole. That's only like $5 on Steam. That looks super silly and fun. As just mentioned, Fast Food Simulator may find people to play that with. Maybe I'll do some Marvel Rivals. I don't know, but I'm just killing time for the next 2 weeks after I beat Ghost of Tsushima. So come hang out, and of course, Sea of Thieves every Thursday as well. So that's the one constant, even when Monster Hunter comes out, that'll always be there.
Cool. And with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yas.
Bye.